Welcome to this quiet space, this gentle time set aside just for you. As you settle in, wherever you are, perhaps lying in bed, perhaps sitting in a comfortable chair, perhaps somewhere in between waking and sleeping, I invite you to take a slow, deep breath. And as you exhale, let your shoulders drop, let your jaw relax. Let the weight of the day begin to release. You've chosen to spend this time exploring something simple, something ancient, something that has brought comfort to billions of people across thousands of years. We're going to journey together through the world of tea, not rushing, not hurrying, but drifting slowly like steam rising from a warm cup, like leaves settling to the bottom of a pot, like your own thoughts gradually becoming quieter, softer, more peaceful. This is not a lecture. This is not something you need to remember or study or concentrate on. Think of it instead as a gentle companion for your journey into sleep, a calm voice speaking softly about calm things, weaving together science and story, fact and feeling, knowledge and peace. You don't need to follow every word. You don't need to stay awake to hear it all. In fact, the opposite is true. If you drift off at any moment, that's perfect. That's exactly what this is for. Tea has been humanity's companion for over 5,000 years. 5,000 years. That's longer than most civilizations, longer than most languages, longer than most of the structures we consider ancient. For 5 millennia, humans have been picking leaves from a particular plant, adding hot water, and discovering that something magical happens. Something calming. Something that brings the racing mind back to center, the tense body back to ease. What is it about tea that does this? How does a simple plant have the power to quiet anxiety, to soften stress, to create a feeling of peaceful alertness that's unlike anything else? These are the questions we'll explore together, not with urgency or effort, but with the same gentle patience that tea itself teaches. You see, tea is a teacher, though it never lectures, never demands, never pushes. It teaches through experience, through thousands of small moments of preparation and drinking, through the ritual repeated day after day until it becomes part of who you are. And what does tea teach? It teaches that some things cannot be rushed. It teaches that warmth matters, that small moments matter, that pausing is not the same as stopping. It teaches that bitter and sweet can coexist, that complexity can be subtle, that the most profound experiences often come from the simplest things. Tonight, we're going to explore why tea calms the brain. We'll talk about molecules and neurons, about chemistry and electricity, about ancient wisdom and modern science. But more than facts, we're creating an experience, the experience of slowing down, of settling in, of allowing the world to continue without you for a while as you rest here, safe and comfortable, learning about one of humanity's oldest forms of self-care. Perhaps you're a tea drinker already, someone who knows the comfort of a warm cup, the ritual of preparing it, the way it makes you feel. If so, this journey will deepen your appreciation, give you new understanding of something you already love. Or perhaps you're not a tea drinker, perhaps you've never given it much thought. That's perfectly fine too. You don't need to drink tea to benefit from this story. The calm it brings is in the telling as much as in the drinking, in the slow unfurling of knowledge as much as in the slow unfurling of leaves in hot water. As we move through the hours ahead, and yes, we have hours, beautiful long hours of gentle exploration, you'll learn about compounds with names like L-theanine and catechins, about brain waves called alpha and theta, about neurotransmitters like GABA and serotonin. But don't let these scientific words create any tension. They're just names for natural things, simple things, things that happen in your brain every day. We'll explain each one gently, weave it into the larger story, make it part of a narrative that flows like tea pouring from a pot into a cup. You'll hear about different cultures and their relationships with tea. The Japanese tea ceremony with its precise movements and profound philosophy. The Chinese Gongfu method with its multiple short infusions. The British afternoon tea with its social ritual. The Moroccan mint tea poured from a height. Each culture has found its own way to make tea meaningful, to make it more than just a beverage. And in exploring these different approaches, you'll discover that tea is not just one thing but many things, as varied as humanity itself, yet united by this common thread of bringing calm. You'll learn about the science of relaxation, about how your brain creates the feeling of peace, about what's actually happening in those billions of neurons when you feel stress melt away. And you'll learn how tea supports these natural processes, how it works with your brain's own wisdom, enhancing what's already there rather than forcing something foreign. But again, you don't need to hold on to any of this. You don't need to remember. This is not a test. This is a gift of time, of calm, of gentle words in the darkness. Let the information wash over you like warm water. Let it soak in without effort, without straining. Your unconscious mind will take what it needs, and the rest will simply help you drift into peaceful sleep. As you lie here now, you might notice your breathing, how it's already slower than it was when we began. You might notice how your body feels heavier, more settled into whatever surface supports you. You might notice thoughts beginning to loosen their grip, to drift by like clouds rather than demanding your attention. All of this is natural. All of this is perfect. You're already beginning to experience what we're going to talk about, the gentle shift from tension to ease, from doing to being, from wakefulness to rest. Think of this journey as a long, winding path through a peaceful garden. A tea garden, perhaps, with neat rows of tea plants growing on gentle hillsides, mist in the valleys, birds singing softly in the distance. You're walking this path slowly, in no hurry to arrive anywhere, simply enjoying the walking itself. And I'm walking beside you, pointing out interesting things along the way, sharing stories, offering perspective, but never rushing you, never pulling you forward faster than you want to go. Sometimes the path will take us through scientific territory, and we'll talk about molecules and receptors, about neurons and neurotransmitters. Sometimes we'll wander through history, visiting ancient China where tea began, medieval Japan where it became an art form, colonial Britain where it became a cultural cornerstone. Sometimes we'll explore the practical aspects, how to brew tea, how different types affect you differently, how the ritual itself becomes medicine. And sometimes we'll drift into the philosophical, the poetic, the experiential, because tea is all of these things. The beauty of this journey is that there's no wrong way to take it. If your mind wanders, that's fine. If you drift in and out of sleep, that's perfect. If you hear something interesting and want to remember it for later, your mind will hold on to it. If you don't remember anything at all except a vague feeling of calm and the sound of a gentle voice, that's equally valuable. This isn't about gathering information. It's about creating an experience of peace. You might wonder why tea, of all things, deserves 8 hours of exploration. What could there possibly be to say about leaves and hot water for so long? But that question itself reveals our modern bias toward complexity, toward stimulation, toward constant novelty. The truth is that simple things, explored deeply enough, reveal infinite depth. A single leaf contains millions of molecules. A single cup of tea involves countless chemical reactions. A single moment of drinking mindfully touches on neuroscience, psychology, culture, history, agriculture, chemistry, and philosophy. And more than that, tea connects to something deep in human nature, our need for ritual, our craving for calm, our desire for something warm and comforting in a cold and complex world. Tea has survived 5,000 years not because it's exotic or exciting, but because it's reliable. Because it works. Because generation after generation has found that this simple practice, hot water, leaves, attention, time, brings something essential to human life. So as we begin this long, gentle journey together, I invite you to let go of any expectations. You don't need to hear everything. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to stay awake. You just need to be here, breathing, resting, allowing yourself this time. The words will continue whether you're listening closely or drifting away. The voice will stay gentle whether you hear it or dream it. And the invitation to peace is always present, always available, always waiting for you to simply let go. In a moment, we'll begin the story proper. We'll start at the very beginning, with the first discovery of tea in ancient China, with the first experience of how it makes the mind feel. And from there, we'll drift forward through time and inward through science, exploring this remarkable plant and its profound effects on the human brain. But for now, for just another moment, simply rest here. Feel the comfort of wherever you are. Notice the darkness, the quiet, the stillness. Take another slow, deep breath, in through your nose, filling your lungs completely, and out through your mouth, releasing everything you've been carrying. And again, breathing in peace, breathing out tension. One more time, breathing in this moment, breathing out everything else. Close your eyes, and let us begin a gentle journey into the world of tea, a journey that has been unfolding for over 5,000 years, since the very first leaves fell into hot water in ancient China. Imagine, if you will, those first moments when humanity discovered this gentle gift from nature. The story begins in the misty mountains of ancient China, where a leaf from the Camellia sinensis plant drifted down into a cup of hot water. And in that simple moment, something magical began to happen, something that would bring calm to billions of minds across the centuries. You see, when those delicate leaves meet hot water, they begin to release their secrets slowly, gradually, just as your mind is beginning to relax right now. The heat coaxes out compounds that have been waiting inside the leaf, compounds that nature designed with remarkable precision to affect the human brain in the most soothing of ways. Let us start with the most famous of these compounds, L-theanine. This amino acid exists almost exclusively in tea leaves, as if nature created it specifically for our peaceful moments. When you sip tea, L-theanine crosses the blood-brain barrier, that protective gateway that guards what enters our most precious organ. And once it arrives in your brain, something wonderful begins. L-theanine increases the production of alpha waves in your brain. These are the same gentle waves that appear when you're in a state of wakeful relaxation, when you're sitting by a quiet stream, or watching clouds drift across the sky. These alpha waves are slower than the beta waves of your active, thinking mind. They oscillate at a frequency of 8 to 12 cycles per second, a rhythm like gentle breathing, like waves lapping at the shore. As these alpha waves increase, they bring with them a sense of calm alertness. You become relaxed, but not drowsy. Peaceful, but not sleepy. This is why monks in ancient temples would drink tea before meditation, allowing the L-theanine to guide their minds into that perfect state between wakefulness and sleep, between thought and peace. But L-theanine doesn't work alone in this symphony of calm. It partners with another neurotransmitter in your brain called GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. GABA is your brain's natural calming chemical, the one that tells your neurons to slow down, to stop firing so rapidly. L-theanine helps increase GABA activity, like turning down the volume on a too loud radio, allowing your thoughts to settle like sediment in still water. At the same time, L-theanine is also increasing serotonin and dopamine levels in your brain. Serotonin, that gentle molecule of contentment and well-being; dopamine, the neurotransmitter of pleasure and reward. Together, they create a warm sense of satisfaction, a feeling that everything is exactly as it should be in this moment. Now, you might wonder about the caffeine in tea. Yes, tea contains caffeine, that stimulant that can make us feel alert and awake. But here's where tea reveals its true genius, its perfect balance. The caffeine in tea is released slowly, gradually, over hours rather than all at once like coffee. A cup of tea contains about 40 to 70 milligrams of caffeine, compared to coffee's 95 to 200 milligrams. This gentler amount is released into your system in a measured way. And here's the beautiful part: the L-theanine and caffeine work together in what scientists call a synergistic effect. The caffeine provides gentle alertness, preventing drowsiness, while the L-theanine smooths out any jittery edges, any anxiety that caffeine alone might cause. Together, they create what researchers describe as calm focus or relaxed alertness. Your mind becomes clear without becoming tense, aware without becoming anxious. This is why tea has been the companion of poets and philosophers, of scholars and artists throughout history. It allows the mind to be both calm and creative, both peaceful and productive. The ancient Chinese called this state Cha Dao, the way of tea, a middle path between the extremes of drowsiness and hyperactivity. Let us drift deeper into the chemistry of calm. Tea contains compounds called polyphenol, including catechins and flavonoids. These molecules are antioxidants, protective substances that float through your bloodstream like gentle guardians, protecting your brain cells from stress and damage. One particular catechin, epigallocatechin gallate or EGCG, has been found to have neuroprotective properties, shielding your brain's delicate neurons from the wear and tear of daily life. When these polyphenol reach your brain, they help reduce inflammation, that invisible fire that can make our minds feel foggy and uncomfortable. By cooling this inflammation, tea helps your brain function more smoothly, more peacefully. It's like clearing away cobwebs from a quiet room, allowing light to filter through more gently. The warmth of tea itself plays a role in this calming process. When you hold a warm cup in your hands, thermoreceptors in your skin send signals to your brain, triggering a relaxation response. The warmth spreads from your fingers through your palms, up your wrists, and somehow this physical warmth translates into emotional warmth, into comfort and safety. Studies have shown that holding something warm can make people feel more trusting, more connected, more at peace. As you drink warm tea, it travels down your esophagus, spreading warmth through your chest and into your stomach. This activates your vagus nerve, that long wandering nerve that connects your brain to your digestive system. The vagus nerve is part of your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system that counteracts stress. When the vagus nerve is stimulated by warmth, it sends calming signals back to your brain, creating a feedback loop of relaxation. Different types of tea offer different pathways to calm. Let us think about chamomile tea for a moment. Though it's not from the Camellia sinensis plant, chamomile has been used for thousands of years to soothe anxious minds. It contains an antioxidant called apigenin, which binds to specific receptors in your brain that help decrease anxiety and initiate sleep. Apigenin works similarly to some anti-anxiety medications, but in a gentler, more natural way, like a soft hand on a worried brow. Green tea, with its delicate leaves that have been minimally oxidized, contains the highest levels of L-theanine. The Japanese tea ceremony, developed over centuries, is built around the slow, mindful preparation and consumption of matcha, a powdered green tea. Every movement in the ceremony is deliberate, measured, meditative. The whisking of the tea, the presentation of the bowl, the sipping in silence, all designed to bring the mind into the present moment, to anchor awareness in the here and now. Black tea, with its fuller oxidation, develops compounds called theaflavins and theorubigens. These give black tea its deep color and rich flavor, but they also have remarkable effects on your brain. Research has shown that regular black tea consumption is associated with improved attention and reduced stress levels. The ritual of afternoon tea, practiced in many cultures, provides a structured pause in the day, a moment to step back from busyness and breathe. White tea, the most delicate of all, is made from the youngest leaves and buds, barely processed, almost raw. It contains high levels of catechins and very low levels of caffeine, making it perhaps the gentlest option for a calm mind. Drinking white tea is like listening to a whisper rather than a shout, allowing your nervous system to settle into its most natural, relaxed state. Oolong tea sits between green and black, partially oxidized, embodying balance and moderation. In traditional Chinese medicine, oolong is said to harmonize the body's energy, bringing together opposing forces into peaceful coexistence. Modern research supports this wisdom, showing that oolong tea can help regulate neurotransmitter levels, keeping the brain's chemical messengers in optimal balance. The ritual of making tea itself is therapeutic. The boiling of water, that transformation of liquid into steam and back again, is almost alchemical. As you wait for the water to heat, you're already beginning to slow down, to shift from doing mode into being mode. The sound of water beginning to simmer, that gentle rumbling that the Japanese call wind in the pines, is itself a form of white noise that can calm an overstimulated mind. Pouring water over leaves, watching them unfurl and dance in the cup, seeing the water change color, these simple observations anchor your attention in the present moment. This is mindfulness without trying to be mindful, meditation without sitting in meditation. Your breathing naturally slows to match the pace of the ritual. Your shoulders drop. Your jaw unclenches without you even noticing. The scent of tea as it steeps engages your olfactory system, which is directly connected to the limbic system in your brain, the area responsible for emotions and memory. Different tea aromas trigger different responses. The grassy, fresh scent of green tea can make you feel renewed and peaceful. The malty, robust aroma of black tea can feel comforting and grounding. The floral notes of white tea can seem uplifting and pure. Studies using brain imaging have shown that pleasant aromas can activate the orbitofrontal cortex, a region of the brain associated with pleasure and reward processing. When you smell tea, your brain is literally experiencing pleasure before you even taste it, releasing small amounts of dopamine and creating positive associations that reinforce the calming ritual. The tannins in tea, those compounds that can make it taste slightly astringent, also play a role in tea's calming effects. Tannins slow the absorption of caffeine, which is why tea's energy feels gentler and more sustained than coffee's. They also have been shown to have anti-inflammatory properties throughout the body, including in the brain, where inflammation can contribute to anxiety and mood disturbances. Tea contains small amounts of magnesium, a mineral essential for brain function and emotional regulation. Magnesium helps regulate neurotransmitters and has been called nature's Valium for its calming effects on the nervous system. While you'd need to drink quite a bit of tea to get your full daily magnesium requirement, every little bit contributes to that overall sense of calm. There's also vitamin B6 in tea, which helps your brain produce serotonin and norepinephrine, neurotransmitters that regulate mood and help you respond to stress. B vitamins are like the support staff of your nervous system, working quietly in the background to keep everything running smoothly. The process of drinking tea slowly, sip by sip, encourages slower breathing. When you sip, you naturally take a small breath in, hold it briefly, then release it. This mimics breathing exercises used in meditation and yoga to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Each sip becomes a mini breathing exercise, gently coaching your body into a more relaxed state without any conscious effort on your part. In traditional Chinese medicine, tea is considered cooling and calming to an overactive mind. The Chinese concept of hua, or internal heat, describes a state of stress, inflammation, and agitation. Tea is said to clear heat, to cool and calm this internal fire. Modern neuroscience might explain this in terms of tea's anti-inflammatory and anxiolytic properties, but the effect is the same, a cooling of mental agitation, a soothing of an overheated mind. The Japanese concept of ichigo ichii, which means one time, one meeting, is central to their tea ceremony. It reminds us that each moment is unique and will never come again, encouraging full presence and attention. When you drink tea with this awareness, it becomes more than just a beverage. It becomes a practice in letting go of past and future, in resting fully in the present moment where peace always resides. Research has shown that regular tea drinkers have different brain structures than non-tea drinkers. Long-term tea consumption is associated with greater connectivity between different brain regions, particularly in areas related to attention, focus, and memory. It's as if tea helps the brain organize itself more efficiently, creating clearer pathways for thoughts and emotions to flow. The polyphenol in tea can cross the blood-brain barrier and affect brain plasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and adapt to new situations. This suggests that tea doesn't just calm the brain temporarily, it may actually help train the brain to be calmer over time, building resilience against stress and anxiety. Tea contains trace amounts of L-arginine, an amino acid that gets converted into nitric oxide in the body. Nitric oxide helps blood vessels relax and dilate, improving blood flow to the brain. Better blood flow means more oxygen and nutrients reaching your brain cells, which can improve mental clarity while reducing feelings of stress and tension. The fluoride in tea, particularly in green tea, has been studied for its neuroprotective effects. In small amounts, fluoride may help protect neurons from damage and support healthy brain function. Combined with tea's other compounds, it contributes to the overall nourishing effect tea has on the brain. Drinking tea has been linked to the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, a protein that supports the growth and survival of neurons. Higher levels of BDNF are associated with better mood regulation, reduced anxiety, and protection against stress-related brain changes. It's like tea provides fertilizer for your brain, helping it grow and thrive even in challenging conditions. The simple act of taking a tea break interrupts the stress response cycle. When you're stressed, your body releases cortisol, adrenaline, and other stress hormones. These are useful in short bursts but harmful when sustained. By pausing for tea, you give your body permission to shift out of fight or flight mode and into rest and digest mode. The physical act of stopping, of sitting down with a cup, sends a signal to your brain that you're safe, that this moment is for restoration rather than action. Studies on tea and meditation have found that drinking tea before meditation deepens the meditative state. The L-theanine helps quiet mental chatter, making it easier to settle into stillness. The gentle focus from caffeine prevents drowsiness, keeping awareness bright and clear. This combination creates ideal conditions for the deep rest and mental clarity that meditation provides. Tea drinking is inherently social in many cultures, and this social aspect contributes to its calming effects. When we share tea with others, we activate oxytocin, the bonding hormone that promotes feelings of trust, connection, and safety. Even drinking tea alone, we're participating in a ritual shared by billions across time and space, creating a sense of connection to something larger than ourselves. The antioxidants in tea help protect the brain from oxidative stress, which occurs when there's an imbalance between free radicals and antioxidants in the body. Oxidative stress can damage brain cells and contribute to anxiety and depression. By neutralizing free radicals, tea's antioxidants act like a protective shield around your neurons, preserving their function and supporting mental well-being. Research has found that tea consumption is associated with reduced activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center. When the amygdala is overactive, we feel anxious, on edge, constantly scanning for threats. Tea seems to gently quiet this alarm system, helping us feel safer and more at ease in the world. The repetitive motion of drinking tea, lifting the cup, sipping, setting it down, can become a form of self-soothing behavior, similar to rocking or gentle movement. These repetitive motions activate parts of the brain associated with comfort and safety, often learned in infancy. Without realizing it, drinking tea connects us to our earliest experiences of being cared for and comforted. Tea contains small amounts of theophylline and theobromine, compounds related to caffeine but with different effects. Theophylline can help relax smooth muscles and improve breathing, while theobromine has mild mood-enhancing properties. Together with caffeine and L-theanine, they create a complex blend of compounds that work in harmony to balance stimulation with relaxation. The color of tea itself may contribute to its calming effects. The warm golden, amber, or green hues of different teas are naturally soothing to the eye. Color psychology suggests that these warm, natural colors can reduce stress and create feelings of comfort and well-being. Just looking at a cup of tea can begin to trigger relaxation. Studies have shown that the anticipation of drinking tea can itself reduce stress. When regular tea drinkers know they're about to have tea, their brain begins releasing small amounts of dopamine in anticipation of the pleasure to come. This anticipatory relaxation is part of why tea breaks feel so restorative. The calming begins before the first sip. The temperature of tea as you drink it provides biofeedback about the passage of time. As the tea cools from hot to warm to lukewarm, you have a tangible sense of time passing slowly, peacefully. This natural timer encourages you to slow down, to take your time, to not rush. In our fast-paced world, this gentle reminder to slow down is itself a form of stress relief. Tea's effect on the gut-brain axis is another pathway to calm. The polyphenol in tea act as prebiotics, feeding beneficial bacteria in your gut. These gut bacteria produce neurotransmitters and communicate with your brain through the vagus nerve. A healthy gut microbiome is increasingly recognized as essential for mental health, and tea supports this internal ecosystem. The slight bitterness of tea engages taste receptors that can actually help reduce stress. Bitter tastes stimulate the production of digestive enzymes in bile, which in turn can improve nutrient absorption and support overall health. There's also something psychologically satisfying about accepting and even enjoying a bitter taste. It can remind us that not everything needs to be sweet, that there's wisdom in accepting all flavors of experience. When we drink tea mindfully, we practice accepting the present moment exactly as it is. The tea might be too hot, too cool, too strong, too weak, and yet we drink it anyway, adjusting our expectations to reality rather than demanding reality conform to our expectations. This small practice in acceptance can ripple out into other areas of life, helping us meet challenges with greater equanimity. The steam rising from a cup of tea carries both heat and aroma molecules into the air. Breathing in this warm, fragrant steam can help relax tense facial muscles, particularly around the eyes and forehead where we often hold stress. It also hydrates the nasal passages and can make breathing feel easier, more natural, which signals safety to the brain. Tea has been used in traditional healing practices around the world for millennia. In Ayurveda, different teas are matched to different constitutions and imbalances. In traditional Chinese medicine, tea is prescribed for various mental and physical conditions. In European folk medicine, herbal teas have long been the first line of defense against insomnia and anxiety. This accumulated wisdom, passed down through generations, speaks to tea's profound effects on human well-being. Modern research continues to discover new ways that tea affects the brain. Recent studies have found that tea consumption may help protect against age-related cognitive decline, preserve brain volume, and even reduce the risk of dementia. While these are long-term benefits, they suggest that tea's effects on the brain are both immediate and cumulative, both temporary and lasting. The ritual of preparing tea for someone else is an act of care and love. When we make tea for another person, we're taking time to nurture them, to provide comfort. This act of giving activates reward centers in our own brain, releasing oxytocin and dopamine. In this way, the person making the tea benefits almost as much as the person receiving it. As you lie here, perhaps you can imagine the journey of a tea leaf, beginning as a bud on a plant growing in misty mountains, carefully picked by gentle hands, dried and processed with attention and care, shipped across oceans or continents, arriving in your cup, releasing its gifts into hot water, and finally entering your body where it brings calm to your mind and peace to your nervous system. What a remarkable journey, from plant to person, from leaf to tranquility. And now, as this story of tea and calm draws to a close, you might notice how your own breathing has settled, how your thoughts have slowed like those tea leaves settling to the bottom of a cup. The facts and science we've explored are just one way of understanding something that humans have known intuitively for thousands of years, that tea brings peace. Whether it's the L-theanine increasing alpha waves in your brain, the polyphenol protecting your neurons, the warmth activating your vagus nerve, the ritual anchoring you in the present moment, or simply the comfort of holding something warm while you pause from the demands of the day, tea works its gentle magic in countless ways, all of them leading to the same destination, a calmer, quieter, more peaceful mind. So rest now, let the knowledge of tea's gifts wash over you like warm water over leaves, knowing that this ancient beverage has been bringing comfort and calm for 5,000 years, and will continue to do so for thousands more. The story of tea and the human brain is still being written, with new discoveries emerging every year, but its essential truth remains unchanged. In a chaotic world, tea is a refuge, a reset, a return to center. Sleep well, dream softly, and may your mind be as calm and clear as a cup of perfectly steeped tea. And so our journey with tea continues, drifting deeper into the gentle mysteries of how this simple plant brings such profound peace to the human mind. Let us begin by traveling back in time, to understand how tea first became known as a medicine for the mind. In ancient China, during the Tang dynasty, tea was not merely a beverage but a form of medicine. The scholar Lu Yu wrote the first book about tea, the Cha Ching or Classic of Tea, in the year 760. In it, he described tea as a medicine that could ease the mind and bring clarity to confused thoughts. Even then, over 1,200 years ago, people understood that tea did something special to consciousness. The Buddhist monks who carried tea from China to Japan discovered something remarkable. When they drank tea during their long hours of meditation, they could remain alert without becoming agitated. They could sit in stillness for hours, their minds clear but calm, focused but peaceful. This led to tea becoming central to Zen Buddhist practice, where it's still used today to support meditation and mindfulness. What the monks discovered through experience, modern neuroscience can now explain in terms of brain chemistry. You see, when L-theanine enters your brain, it doesn't just create alpha waves randomly. It specifically enhances alpha wave activity in the occipital and parietal lobes, areas of the brain associated with processing sensory information and spatial awareness. This creates a state where you're very aware of your surroundings, very present, but without the mental tension that usually comes with high alertness. Think of it this way: normally, being alert means your brain is working hard, neurons firing rapidly, consuming energy, creating mental tension. But with tea, the L-theanine creates what researchers call relaxed alertness or alert calmness. Your neurons are communicating efficiently, but not frantically. It's the difference between a rushed, anxious conversation and a calm, thoughtful dialogue. This state of relaxed alertness affects your creativity in fascinating ways. Studies have shown that when people consume L-theanine, they perform better on creative tasks, generating more original ideas and making more novel connections between concepts. This is because anxiety and stress actually narrow our thinking, causing us to fall back on familiar patterns. When tea reduces that anxiety, your mind becomes more flexible, more open to new possibilities. The catechins in tea, particularly EGCG, have been found to protect neurons from excitotoxicity. This is a process where neurons become overexcited by neurotransmitters like glutamate, eventually leading to cell damage and death. Excitotoxicity is thought to play a role in anxiety disorders and stress-related brain damage. By protecting against this, tea's catechins act like a buffer, preventing your neurons from becoming overwhelmed and exhausted. Green tea contains an amino acid called L-glutamine, which your brain converts into glutamic acid, an important neurotransmitter. But unlike glutamate consumed directly from food, the glutamic acid produced from L-glutamine is released slowly and steadily, providing your brain with a stable source of this crucial neurotransmitter without causing the spikes and crashes that can lead to anxiety. There's something almost poetic about how tea affects time perception. Several studies have found that people who drink tea regularly report feeling less rushed, less pressured by time. This isn't just because taking a tea break forces you to pause. It's actually related to how L-theanine affects the brain regions involved in processing time. When you're anxious, time seems to speed up, moments blur together. When you're calm, time slows down, you notice more details, you feel like you have more time than you actually do. The Japanese have a word, ma, which means the pause or space between things. In the tea ceremony, ma is as important as the movements themselves. The pauses, the silence, the empty spaces, these are when the mind truly settles. Modern neuroscience shows that the brain needs these pauses to process information, to consolidate memories, to reset. Without pauses, the brain becomes overwhelmed. Tea provides a structured excuse for these necessary pauses. Let us consider the different harvest times of tea and how they affect the brain differently. First flush teas, picked in early spring, contain the highest levels of L-theanine because the plant has been storing this amino acid over the winter months. These teas are particularly calming, particularly good at generating those peaceful alpha waves. Second flush teas, picked later in the season, have slightly less L-theanine but more complex flavors, and the act of savoring these complex flavors itself becomes a meditative practice. The terroir of tea, where it's grown, the soil, the altitude, the climate, all of this affects the chemical composition of the leaves. High mountain teas, grown in cool, misty conditions where the plant grows slowly, develop more L-theanine and polyphenol. The stress of growing in challenging conditions makes the plant produce more protective compounds, and these same compounds protect our brains when we drink the tea. It's as if the plant's resilience becomes our resilience. When tea leaves are shaded before harvest, as they are for matcha and gyokuro, the plant produces even more L-theanine. Shading tricks the plant into thinking it needs to maximize its photosynthesis, and L-theanine plays a role in this process. So these shade-grown teas are particularly rich in the compound that brings calm to our minds. Nature's chemistry, working in harmony with human cultivation, to create something that serves our well-being. The oxidation level of tea affects not just flavor but also brain chemistry. When tea leaves are oxidized, their catechins transform into other compounds like theaflavins and thiorubigens. These oxidized polyphenol have different but equally beneficial effects on the brain. They've been shown to improve blood flow to the brain, support the production of new neurons, and protect against age-related cognitive decline. So whether you prefer green tea or black tea, you're getting brain benefits, just through slightly different mechanisms. The mineral content of tea deserves deeper consideration. Beyond magnesium, tea contains potassium, which helps regulate nerve signals in the brain. It contains manganese, which supports the production of neurotransmitters and protects against oxidative stress. It contains zinc, essential for brain development and function. Each cup of tea is delivering a subtle mineral bath to your brain, supporting countless chemical reactions that keep your neurons healthy and your mind calm. The fluoride in tea comes from the soil where it grows, absorbed through the roots over months and years. While too much fluoride can be harmful, the small amounts in tea may actually support brain health by protecting against aluminum accumulation in the brain. Some researchers believe this is part of why tea drinkers show lower rates of neurodegenerative diseases in population studies. Tea contains trace amounts of vitamin K, which plays a role in brain function that scientists are only beginning to understand. Vitamin K is involved in the synthesis of sphingolipids, fats that are crucial components of brain cell membranes. Healthy cell membranes mean healthy neuron signaling, which translates to better mood regulation and cognitive function. The practice of re-steeping tea leaves, common in Chinese and Japanese tea culture, isn't just economical, it changes the chemistry of what you're drinking. The first infusion releases mostly caffeine and lighter, more delicate compounds. The second and third infusions release more L-theanine and deeper polyphenol. By the fourth or fifth infusion, you're getting mostly L-theanine with very little caffeine, creating an increasingly calming effect as you continue drinking. It's like the tea is guiding you deeper into relaxation with each cup. The temperature at which you steep tea affects which compounds are extracted. Lower temperatures, around 160 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit for green tea, extract more L-theanine relative to caffeine and tannins. Higher temperatures, around 200 to 212 degrees Fahrenheit for black tea, extract more of everything. This is why green tea feels gentler, more subtly calming, while black tea feels more robust and grounding. You can literally adjust the brain effects you want by changing the water temperature. Steeping time also matters. A brief steeping of 1 to 2 minutes gives you more caffeine and less L-theanine. A longer steeping of 3 to 5 minutes gives you more L-theanine and more polyphenol. The tea reveals different aspects of itself at different steeping times, just as your mind reveals different qualities at different levels of relaxation. The act of cooling tea to a drinkable temperature requires patience, and this enforced patience is itself therapeutic. In our instant gratification culture, waiting for tea to cool teaches us that some things can't be rushed. Your nervous system responds to this lesson, learning that not everything needs to happen immediately, that slowness can be a virtue rather than a frustration. Let us think about the social neuroscience of tea. When you offer someone tea, you're engaging in what anthropologists call reciprocal altruism. This activates the brain's reward centers, releasing oxytocin and creating feelings of bonding and trust. Over the course of human evolution, sharing food and drink has been a fundamental way of building social connections, and these ancient patterns are still wired into our brains. Tea drinking taps into these deep evolutionary patterns. The conversation that happens over tea is different from other conversations. The slow sipping creates natural pauses in dialogue. The warmth and comfort reduce defensiveness. Studies have found that difficult conversations are easier when people are holding warm beverages, because the physical warmth is associated with emotional warmth in the brain. This is why "let's have tea and talk" is such a common phrase in many languages. People intuitively understand that tea facilitates connection. Even drinking tea alone, you're not truly alone. You're participating in a practice shared by billions of people every day, a practice that has continued for thousands of years. This sense of connection to humanity across time and space can reduce feelings of loneliness and isolation, which are themselves major sources of stress and anxiety. Your individual tea moment is part of a vast, collective human experience. The sounds associated with tea, the whistle of a kettle, the pour of water, the clink of a spoon against porcelain, these sounds can become anchors for relaxation through classical conditioning. If you drink tea regularly in moments of calm, your brain learns to associate these sounds with safety and peace. Eventually, just hearing the kettle whistle can trigger a relaxation response, even before you've tasted the tea. Research on the gut-brain axis has revealed that the polyphenol in tea are metabolized by gut bacteria into compounds that can affect brain function. These metabolites can cross the blood-brain barrier and influence neurotransmitter production, inflammation levels, and even gene expression in the brain. Your gut bacteria are essentially helping to transform tea into brain medicine, a beautiful example of how our bodies work in partnership with the natural world. The microbiome changes that occur with regular tea consumption include increases in beneficial bacteria like Bifidobacterium and Lactobacillus. These bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids that have anti-inflammatory effects throughout the body, including in the brain. They also produce neurotransmitters like GABA directly in the gut, which then signal the brain through the vagus nerve. So tea is supporting your mental health through your digestive system, a pathway that wasn't even recognized by science until recently. Pu'er tea, a fermented tea from China, has unique properties because of its fermentation process. The microorganisms that ferment pu'er create novel compounds not found in other teas. Some of these compounds have been shown to support healthy cholesterol levels, which indirectly benefits the brain by ensuring good blood flow through clean, healthy blood vessels. Traditional Chinese medicine has used pu'er to settle the spirit for centuries, and now we're beginning to understand why. The aging process of pu'er tea, which can last decades, continues to transform the chemistry of the leaves. Older pu'er is prized for its smooth, earthy, deeply calming character. Something about the slow transformation over years seems to create compounds that have profoundly settling effects on the mind. It's as if the patience required to age the tea is transferred to those who drink it. Oolong tea's partial oxidation creates a unique profile of compounds that bridges green and black tea. This makes oolong particularly good for people who find green tea too light and black tea too strong. The balanced chemistry of oolong creates balanced effects in the brain, energizing without overstimulating, calming without sedating. It's the Goldilocks of teas, hitting that just right sweet spot for many people. The process of rolling tea leaves, done by hand in traditional methods, bruises the leaves in precise ways that affect how they oxidize and how flavors develop. This physical manipulation of the leaves changes their chemistry in subtle ways. Hand-rolled teas often have more complex flavor profiles, and engaging with this complexity, identifying different notes, following how the flavor changes from sip to sip, this focus and attention is itself a form of meditation that calms the mind. White tea, minimally processed, retains a very high level of catechins, even higher than green tea in some varieties. These catechins have been shown to protect against stress-induced damage to the hippocampus, the brain region crucial for memory and emotion regulation. In animal studies, catechins prevented the shrinkage of the hippocampus that normally occurs with chronic stress. While we can't say for certain this happens in humans, the protective effect is suggestive and hopeful. The picking of tea leaves is traditionally done by hand, with pickers selecting only the newest, most tender leaves and buds. These young leaves contain the highest concentrations of beneficial compounds. There's something touching about this, that the most gentle, newest growth is what brings the most profound calm to our minds. Youth and tenderness serving to soothe age and weariness. Tea gardens are often found in some of the most peaceful places on earth: misty mountains, quiet hillsides, serene valleys. The people who tend these gardens often speak of the tranquility of working among tea plants. Perhaps some of that peace infuses the leaves themselves, or perhaps it's simply that tea grows best in peaceful places, and we're drawn to grow it where we ourselves feel calm. The mindfulness movement in the West has rediscovered what tea cultures have always known: that full attention to simple activities is profoundly therapeutic. When you pay complete attention to tea, its color, aroma, temperature, taste, the feeling as you swallow, you're practicing mindfulness. And mindfulness has been shown in hundreds of studies to reduce anxiety, lower stress hormones, improve emotional regulation, and even change brain structure over time. Brain imaging studies of experienced meditators show increased gray matter density in regions associated with emotional regulation and self-awareness. Interestingly, studies of regular tea drinkers show similar patterns, though less pronounced. This suggests that the combination of L-theanine's chemical effects and the mindful practice of tea drinking may be creating measurable changes in brain structure. The default mode network in your brain is a set of regions that activate when you're not focused on the outside world, when you're daydreaming, remembering, planning, worrying. An overactive default mode network is associated with anxiety and depression. Meditation quiets this network, and so does L-theanine. This may be why tea can help quiet the endless chatter of the mind, the rumination and worry that keeps so many people awake at night. Herbal teas, though not from the Camellia sinensis plant, offer their own pathways to calm. Lavender tea contains compounds like linalool that directly affect GABA receptors, reducing anxiety. Passion flower tea increases GABA levels in the brain. Valerian tea contains valerianic acid, which prevents the breakdown of GABA. Lemon balm tea increases GABA activity and reduces stress hormone levels. Each herb has its own chemical signature, its own way of bringing peace to the nervous system. Rooibos tea, from South Africa, is caffeine-free and rich in antioxidants like aspalathin and nalthophagen. These compounds have been shown to reduce stress hormone levels and protect against stress-induced oxidative damage. Rooibos also contains magnesium, zinc, calcium, and iron, supporting overall brain health through nutritional pathways. The combination of different teas and herbs creates synergistic effects. A blend of green tea and chamomile gives you both L-theanine and apigenin, working through different mechanisms to calm the mind. A blend of black tea and lavender provides alertness from caffeine balanced by the GABA-enhancing effects of linalool. Traditional tea blends from around the world often combine plants in ways that modern science is only now validating as chemically synergistic. The caffeine in tea, as we've discussed, is gentler than coffee's caffeine. But there's more to this story. Tea also contains L-theanine, which modulates the effects of caffeine at the receptor level. L-theanine doesn't block caffeine. Instead, it smooths out the peaks and valleys, preventing the jittery overstimulation of coffee while maintaining gentle alertness. It's as if L-theanine teaches caffeine to be more civilized, more refined. This synergy between L-theanine and caffeine has been studied extensively. Brain imaging shows that when people consume L-theanine and caffeine together, they show improved attention and accuracy on cognitive tasks compared to either compound alone. The caffeine provides energy and focus, while L-theanine provides calm and clarity. Together, they create a state researchers have called optimal arousal, not too sleepy, not too wired, but just right for whatever task is at hand. The ritual timing of tea matters too. Morning tea can ease you into the day gently, providing energy without the anxiety that coffee sometimes brings. Afternoon tea can provide a midday reset, a pause that prevents the accumulation of stress that builds up over hours of work. Evening tea, particularly caffeine-free herbal tea, can signal to your brain that it's time to begin winding down, to shift from doing to being. In traditional Chinese medicine, there's a concept called Shen, often translated as spirit but more accurately understood as the vitality and clarity of consciousness. Tea is said to nourish Shen, to brighten and calm the spirit simultaneously. While Western medicine doesn't use this language, the concept maps remarkably well onto what we now understand about tea's effects on neurotransmitters, brain waves, and mental states. The Chinese also speak of tea's ability to transform qi, or vital energy. Stagnant qi, trapped and unmoving, causes discomfort and disease. Tea is said to move qi gently, helping it flow smoothly through the body. In modern terms, we might say tea improves circulation, reduces inflammation, and supports the flow of neurotransmitters, but the metaphor of energy flowing smoothly is perhaps more evocative, more helpful in understanding how tea makes us feel. Different teas are associated with different elements and seasons in Chinese medicine. Green tea is associated with spring and the wood element, bringing renewal and growth. Black tea is associated with winter and the water element, bringing depth and grounding. White tea is associated with autumn and the metal element, bringing purity and letting go. Oolong is balanced between elements, appropriate for transitions. These associations aren't just poetic. They reflect real differences in how these teas affect body and mind. The Japanese tea ceremony, or shinoyu, is called the Way of Tea because it's considered a spiritual path, not just a beverage ritual. Every movement in the ceremony is prescribed: how to enter the tea room, how to sit, how to handle the utensils, how to drink. This extreme structure might seem rigid, but its purpose is to free the mind from decisions, from planning, from anxiety about doing things right. When every detail is prescribed, you can relax into just doing, just being, just experiencing. The tea room itself, or chishitsu, is designed according to principles that support calm. It's small, usually just large enough for the host and a few guests, creating intimacy. The ceiling is low, encouraging humility. The entrance is small, requiring guests to bow as they enter, physically embodying a gesture of respect and letting go of ego. Natural materials like wood and bamboo, the smell of tatami mats, the soft light from paper windows, everything is designed to create a womb-like feeling of safety and peace. In the Zen tradition, there's a saying, taste tea, taste mind. The flavor of the tea is not separate from your mental state. When you're anxious, tea tastes different than when you're calm. As you become more peaceful through drinking tea mindfully, the tea itself seems to taste better, sweeter, more nuanced. You're not changing the tea, you're changing your perception. And this change in perception is itself a change in brain function. The monks also say that tea practice is nothing special. You're just boiling water, just pouring it over leaves, just drinking. But in this ordinariness, this simplicity, lies profound peace. The anxious mind is always seeking something special, something different, something more. The calm mind finds completeness in what is, right here, right now. Tea teaches this through direct experience, through thousands of ordinary moments of making and drinking tea. The brain slowly learns that ordinary is enough. Research on habit formation shows that it takes repeated practice for neural pathways to become established. Each time you make tea mindfully, you're strengthening the neural connections associated with calm, focus, and present moment awareness. Over weeks and months, these pathways become stronger, more automatic. Eventually, making tea becomes a trigger for calm, not just because of L-theanine, but because your brain has been trained through repetition. This is why tea traditions emphasize daily practice, not occasional indulgence. The benefits of tea accumulate over time. The more regularly you drink tea, particularly if you do so mindfully, the more your brain adapts. Your baseline stress levels decrease. Your ability to self-regulate improves. Your sleep quality enhances. These changes are gradual, so gradual you might not notice day to day, but over months and years, they're profound. The polyphenol in tea have been shown to influence gene expression in the brain. They activate genes associated with neuroplasticity and cell survival while suppressing genes associated with inflammation and cell death. This means tea isn't just temporarily affecting your brain chemistry, it's actually influencing which genes are turned on or off, potentially having effects that persist long after the tea has left your system. The concept of hormesis is relevant here. Hormesis is when a small amount of stress actually makes a system stronger. The polyphenol in tea are mild stressors to your cells, and cells respond by upregulating their protective mechanisms. These protective mechanisms then help defend against more serious stresses. It's like tea is training your brain to be more resilient, one cup at a time. The ritual of cleaning tea utensils after use is part of the tea practice in many cultures. This cleaning is done with care and attention, not rushed or mindless. Washing each cup, each pot, putting everything back in its place. This brings closure to the tea moment. Psychologically, closure is important for the brain. It allows you to fully release the activity and move on to the next thing, rather than carrying mental clutter from incomplete actions. In the Korean tea ceremony, there's even more emphasis on simplicity than in the Japanese version. The Korean approach is called Dado, the way of tea, and it emphasizes naturalness over formal precision. The idea is that if you're too focused on getting the ceremony exactly right, you're not truly present. Better to be slightly imperfect but genuinely relaxed than perfectly correct but internally tense. This teaching, that peace matters more than perfection, is a profound gift for the anxious mind. The Tibetan tradition of butter tea is fascinating from a brain health perspective. Adding butter or ghee to tea increases the absorption of fat-soluble compounds and provides the brain with quality fats it needs for cell membrane health. The Tibetans have survived in harsh, high-altitude conditions for generations, and their butter tea tradition may have supported their brain health in challenging environmental conditions. Moroccan mint tea, a blend of green tea and fresh mint, offers combined benefits. The green tea provides L-theanine and catechins, while the mint provides menthol and rosmarinic acid, both of which have calming effects. The tradition of pouring the tea from a height, creating a froth, actually oxygenates the tea, changing its taste and possibly its chemistry. The act of pouring, the concentration it requires, the visual beauty of the arc of tea, this too is meditation. British afternoon tea, with its small sandwiches and cakes, provides not just social connection but also stable blood sugar. Low blood sugar can cause anxiety and irritability, while balanced blood sugar supports stable mood. The combination of tea's polyphenol with a small amount of food creates optimal conditions for calm energy that lasts for hours. Russian tea tradition, often using a samovar to keep water constantly hot, makes tea available throughout the day. This constant availability means you can have tea whenever you feel stressed, creating a reliable source of comfort. The samovar itself, often a beautiful decorative object, becomes a focal point of the home, a symbol of hospitality and warmth. Turkish tea, served in small tulip-shaped glasses, is drunk throughout the day in social settings. The small size means you drink it relatively quickly while it's hot, and then someone offers you another. This creates a rhythm of social interaction punctuated by tea, keeping social bonds strong and stress levels low through regular connection with others. Indian chai, with its mixture of black tea, milk, sugar, and spices like cardamom, ginger, and cinnamon, is a complete sensory experience. Each spice has its own effects on brain chemistry. Cardamom has antidepressant properties. Ginger has anti-inflammatory effects. Cinnamon helps regulate blood sugar. Together, they create a warming, comforting, uplifting beverage that has sustained millions through their daily lives. The milk in chai is interesting from a neuroscience perspective. Milk contains tryptophan, an amino acid that's a precursor to serotonin. It also contains casein proteins that break down into casomorphins, compounds that have mild opioid-like effects, contributing to the comfort and satisfaction of drinking milky tea. This is why many people find milk tea particularly soothing. Matcha, the powdered green tea used in Japanese tea ceremony, deserves special attention. Because you're consuming the entire ground leaf rather than just an infusion, you get much higher levels of all tea compounds. Matcha can contain up to 5 times more L-theanine than regular green tea. This makes matcha particularly powerful for creating that state of calm alertness. Zen monks have used matcha for over 800 years to support meditation, and modern research validates this traditional wisdom. The preparation of matcha, measuring the powder, adding hot water, whisking in a precise W or M pattern until frothy, this is highly meditative. The whisking requires attention and rhythmic movement. The sound of the whisk against the bowl, the gradual emergence of froth, the transformation of powder and water into a unified, vibrant green liquid, all of this engages your senses and draws your attention into the present moment. And now, as we move deeper into this night, as your breath becomes slower and your mind becomes quieter, perhaps you can feel the essence of what we've been exploring. That tea is not just a beverage but a practice, a teacher, a companion on the path to peace. Every culture that has encountered tea has found ways to make it not just part of daily life but part of the good life, the meaningful life, the peaceful life. The cumulative wisdom of millennia, the insights of modern neuroscience, the direct experience of billions of people across time and space, all of it points to the same truth. Tea calms. Tea soothes. Tea brings our racing minds back to center, our tense bodies back to ease, our fragmented attention back to wholeness. So rest now in this knowledge. Let the story of tea continue in your dreams. And may you wake refreshed, ready to make your own cup of peace, to participate in this ancient and ever-new ritual of brewing calm, one cup at a time. Tea contains compounds called theanine derivatives, which are unique metabolites created when L-theanine is broken down in your body. These derivatives can persist in your system for hours after drinking tea, continuing to support calm brain function long after the cup is empty. It's as if tea's gift of peace extends far beyond the moment of drinking, rippling forward through your day like gentle waves. The blood-brain barrier, that selective membrane that protects your brain from potentially harmful substances in your bloodstream, has specific transporters for L-theanine. This means your brain actively welcomes L-theanine, pulling it across the barrier through dedicated channels. Your brain recognizes L-theanine as beneficial, as needed, as something to be sought out and absorbed. There's something beautiful in this, that your brain is, in a sense, reaching out for the calm that tea offers. When L-theanine enters your brain, it doesn't just increase neurotransmitters randomly throughout all regions. It has a particular affinity for the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function, decision-making, and emotional regulation. By supporting this region specifically, tea helps you make better choices, regulate emotions more effectively, and maintain perspective during stressful situations. It's like tea is specifically supporting your brain's command center. The relationship between tea and sleep is more nuanced than simply caffeine keeps you awake. While it's true that caffeinated tea before bed isn't ideal for most people, studies have shown that regular tea consumption during the day actually improves sleep quality at night. People who drink tea regularly fall asleep faster, experience less nighttime waking, and report feeling more rested upon waking. The daytime calm that tea provides seems to carry forward, creating conditions for better sleep when night arrives. Interestingly, the amino acid theanine has been shown to improve sleep architecture, the specific stages and cycles of sleep. It increases time spent in deep sleep, the restorative stage where your brain clears out metabolic waste and consolidates memories. It also improves REM sleep, the stage associated with dreaming and emotional processing. So tea taken in the morning or afternoon can actually improve how you sleep 12 or 15 hours later, a delayed gift of rest. The concept of sleep pressure is important here. Throughout the day, a compound called adenosine builds up in your brain, creating increasing pressure to sleep. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors, temporarily preventing you from feeling tired. But here's the interesting part. L-theanine doesn't block adenosine. Instead, it allows you to feel appropriately tired when bedtime comes, while the calming effects help quiet the anxious thoughts that often prevent sleep even when we're physically tired. Tea creates mental quiet without forcing chemical wakefulness. Let us consider the seasonal aspects of tea drinking and how they align with our brain's needs. In winter, when daylight is scarce and seasonal affective patterns can emerge, the warming comfort of hot tea provides both physical heat and psychological comfort. The ritual of making tea on a dark winter morning can help signal to your brain that day has begun, helping regulate circadian rhythms that can be disrupted by limited light exposure. In summer, iced tea or room temperature tea provides hydration along with L-theanine's calming effects. Many traditional cultures drink hot tea even in hot weather, understanding that it actually helps cool the body by promoting sweating and supporting the body's natural temperature regulation. The brain benefits remain constant regardless of tea temperature. L-theanine works whether the tea is steaming hot or pleasantly cool. The phenolic acids in tea, compounds like gallic acid and chlorogenic acid, have been shown to protect the hippocampus from stress-induced damage. The hippocampus is crucial for forming new memories and regulating the stress response. When you're chronically stressed, the hippocampus can actually shrink, leading to memory problems and increased anxiety. Tea's phenolic acids help prevent this shrinkage, maintaining the structural integrity of this vital brain region. Tea also contains small amounts of lithium, absorbed from the soil. While the amounts are far smaller than therapeutic doses used for bipolar disorder, even trace lithium has been associated with neuroprotective effects and mood stabilization in population studies. Areas with naturally higher lithium in drinking water show lower rates of dementia and suicide. The lithium in tea may contribute, even in tiny amounts, to its overall brain protective effects. The concept of neuroinflammation is increasingly recognized as central to many mental health conditions. When the brain becomes inflamed, whether from stress, poor diet, toxins, or other factors, it doesn't function optimally. Mood disorders, anxiety, brain fog, and cognitive decline can all stem from or be worsened by neuroinflammation. Tea's powerful anti-inflammatory compounds, particularly EGCG and other catechins, help cool this inflammation, allowing the brain to return to its natural state of clear, calm functioning. Research has shown that tea polyphenol can actually cross into the brain and localize in specific regions. They accumulate particularly in the hippocampus and cortex, the very regions most important for memory, learning, and emotional regulation. It's as if these compounds know exactly where they're needed most, seeking out the areas that benefit most from their protective effects. The concept of mitochondrial health is crucial for understanding tea's effects on the brain. Mitochondria are the power plants of your cells, converting oxygen and nutrients into energy. Brain cells have more mitochondria than almost any other cells in the body because the brain is so energy intensive. When mitochondria become damaged or dysfunctional, brain function suffers. Tea polyphenol protect mitochondria from oxidative damage, ensuring they can continue producing energy efficiently. This means better mental energy, clearer thinking, and more resilience against stress. Tea has been shown to support the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, which we mentioned earlier. But it's worth understanding just how important BDNF is. This protein is like fertilizer for your brain, supporting the growth of new neurons and the formation of new connections between existing neurons. Higher BDNF levels are associated with better mood, better memory, and greater neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and change. Depression and chronic stress both reduce BDNF, while tea helps restore it. The endocannabinoid system in your brain, the same system affected by cannabis, is also influenced by tea. Tea catechins interact with cannabinoid receptors, not by activating them directly like THC does, but by modulating their activity. This helps maintain balance in this system, which regulates mood, pain perception, appetite, and memory. Tea's subtle influence on the endocannabinoid system may contribute to its overall calming and mood-stabilizing effects. In Japan, there's a practice called forest bathing or shinrin-yoku, which involves spending time in nature for health benefits. Studies have shown that forest bathing reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, and improves mood. Interestingly, many forest bathing experiences include drinking tea in the forest. The combination of natural setting, quiet presence, and tea's biochemical effects creates a powerful synergy. The natural compounds in forest air, called phytoncides, combine with tea's compounds to create especially deep relaxation. The relationship between tea and meditation has been studied using brain imaging. When experienced meditators drink tea before meditating, their brain shows increased theta wave activity, waves associated with deep relaxation and the transition between wakefulness and sleep. The combination of meditation practice and tea's biochemistry seems to allow the brain to access deeper states of calm than either alone. Let us think about the economic and social justice aspects of tea, because peace of mind isn't separate from peace in the world. Fair trade tea, grown and harvested by workers who are paid fairly in work and safe conditions, carries a different energy than tea produced through exploitation. When you know that your tea was produced ethically, there's no guilt or discomfort mixed with your enjoyment. The mind can relax more fully, knowing that your moment of peace hasn't come at someone else's expense. Organic tea, grown without synthetic pesticides or fertilizers, provides peace of mind in another way. You're not introducing toxins into your body that could work against the beneficial compounds in the tea. The brain particularly is vulnerable to pesticides, many of which are neurotoxins. Choosing organic tea is choosing to support your brain health through what you avoid as much as through what you consume. Small-scale tea farmers, growing tea using traditional methods passed down through generations, often produce tea with more complex chemistry and more beneficial compounds than industrial tea operations. This is because traditional methods, like growing tea under shade, picking by hand, processing in small batches, allow for more nuanced development of flavors and compounds. Supporting these traditional producers helps preserve not just better tea, but ancient knowledge about how to work with this plant. The water you use for tea matters more than you might think. Hard water, with high mineral content, can bind with tea polyphenol and make them less bioavailable. Soft, pure water allows the tea compounds to remain free and accessible to your body. Traditional tea cultures have always emphasized water quality, understanding intuitively what science now confirms, that water quality affects not just taste but chemistry. The vessels you use for tea can also matter. Clay teapots, especially those made from Yixing clay in China, are porous and build up a seasoning over time from the tea oils. This seasoning actually becomes part of the tea-making process, adding complexity and depth. Some tea practitioners believe their well-seasoned pots contribute to the calming quality of the tea, though science hasn't yet studied this specifically. What is known is that the ritual relationship with a beloved teapot, cared for over years, creates psychological associations that enhance the calming ritual. Porcelain and ceramic cups allow you to see the color of the tea, engaging your visual sense in the experience. The color itself, golden yellow, deep amber, pale green, rich brown, these colors affect your mood. Warm colors are generally soothing and comforting, while cooler greens can feel refreshing and renewing. The visual dimension of tea drinking is part of its therapeutic effect. Glass cups or teapots allow you to watch the leaves unfurl as they steep, a mesmerizing process that's been compared to watching flowers bloom. This visual fascination holds attention, drawing the mind away from worries and into present moment observation. It's meditation through beauty, calm through simple visual pleasure. The size of your teacup influences your experience. Small cups, like those used in Chinese gongfu tea ceremony, mean you drink the tea while it's at optimal temperature and freshness. They also mean you refill often, creating a rhythm of pouring and sipping that structures time and attention. Large mugs allow you to settle in with tea for a longer period, creating a sustained experience of warmth and comfort. Neither is better. They're different pathways to presence and peace. Temperature sensitivity in tea drinking is itself a form of mindfulness training. Hot tea requires patience and attention. You must wait for it to cool enough to drink, and even then, you must sip carefully, attentively. This enforced attention prevents mindless consumption and keeps you engaged with the present moment. Over time, this practice of attention with tea can generalize to other areas of life, helping you become more generally mindful and present. The practice of cooling tea by sipping small amounts of air along with the liquid, common in many tea cultures, both cools the tea and aerates it, changing its flavor and possibly its chemistry. It also requires technique and attention, making the act of drinking into a skill, something you improve at over time. Having tea drinking be a practice you're developing, rather than just a consumption activity, changes your relationship with it and deepens its psychological benefits. Let us consider the role of community in tea culture and how this supports mental health. Tea circles, tea clubs, tea ceremonies with friends. These create regular social connection around a shared practice. Loneliness and isolation are increasingly recognized as major risk factors for mental health problems, while strong social connections are protective. Tea provides a structure for gathering that's calm and inclusive, accessible to people of all ages and abilities. The sharing of tea knowledge, learning about different teas, different brewing methods, different traditions, creates conversations that are educational rather than gossip-based, connecting rather than divisive. Tea enthusiasts often speak of the tea community as particularly welcoming and supportive, perhaps because the practice itself cultivates qualities like patience, attention, and appreciation that make for good community members. Online tea communities have flourished in recent years, connecting people across geographic distances. While online connection isn't the same as in person, for people who are isolated due to location, health, or circumstances, these virtual tea communities provide meaningful connection. Sharing photos of tea sessions, discussing tasting notes, asking advice about brewing, these interactions, though virtual, activate the same social bonding systems in the brain. The concept of tea drunk is familiar to many tea enthusiasts, a particular state induced by drinking multiple infusions of high-quality tea, especially oolong or aged pu'er. It's described as a feeling of euphoria, lightness, mental clarity, and deep calm, different from caffeine jitters or alcohol intoxication. While science hasn't fully explained this phenomenon, it likely involves the combination of L-theanine, caffeine, and other tea compounds in a specific ratio, creating a unique neurochemical state. Some tea practitioners speak of tea having qi or energy that can be felt in the body and mind. While this sounds mystical to Western ears, it may simply be describing the subjective experience of tea's complex effects on nervous system, circulation, and consciousness. The tingling sensation some people report, the feeling of warmth spreading through the body, the shift in awareness, these are real somatic experiences, however we choose to explain them. The aging of our relationship with tea over a lifetime is itself interesting. Children generally prefer sweet drinks, their taste buds not yet appreciating bitterness or subtle flavors. As we age, we develop the ability to appreciate more complex flavors, including the pleasant bitterness of tea. This suggests that our brains and taste systems mature in ways that allow us to benefit from tea. It's as if we grow into tea, developing the capacity to appreciate it fully as we need it more. Elderly tea drinkers, in many cultures, are associated with wisdom and calm. Whether tea contributes to this or wise people are simply drawn to tea is unclear, but population studies consistently show that lifelong tea drinkers have better cognitive function in old age, lower rates of dementia, and better mood than non-tea drinkers. The neuroprotective effects accumulate over decades, preserving brain function and structure. The polyphenol in tea have been shown to help clear amyloid plaques, the protein tangles associated with Alzheimer's disease. While tea isn't a cure or guaranteed prevention, regular consumption may reduce risk or slow progression. The catechins in green tea, particularly EGCG, bind to these plaques and help prevent them from forming toxic aggregates. It's one of many ways tea protects the aging brain. Tea also supports healthy blood vessels, including the tiny capillaries that supply the brain with blood. Better vascular health means better blood flow to the brain, which in turn means better oxygen and nutrient delivery, better waste removal, and lower risk of vascular dementia. The endothelial cells that line blood vessels become healthier and more flexible with regular tea consumption, maintaining their ability to dilate and constrict as needed. The antioxidant capacity of tea is remarkable. 1 cup of tea provides antioxidant protection equivalent to several servings of vegetables. These antioxidants don't just work in the moment, they trigger your body's own antioxidant production systems, upregulating genes that produce enzymes like superoxide dismutase and catalase. This means tea helps your body help itself, activating internal protective mechanisms. There's evidence that tea polyphenol can help repair DNA damage in brain cells. Our DNA is constantly being damaged by oxidative stress, radiation, toxins, and simply normal cellular processes. Usually this damage is repaired, but sometimes the repair mechanisms are overwhelmed. Tea compounds support these repair mechanisms, helping maintain genetic integrity in neurons. This is part of how tea protects against age-related decline. The methylxanthines in tea, caffeine, theophylline, and theobromine, have been shown to help protect against Parkinson's disease. While the mechanism isn't fully understood, it appears that these compounds help preserve dopamine-producing neurons in the substantia nigra, the brain region affected by Parkinson's. Coffee shows similar effects, but tea's combination of methylxanthines with L-theanine and polyphenol may provide even broader protection. Tea consumption has been inversely associated with depression in multiple large studies. People who drink tea regularly have lower rates of depression than non-tea drinkers. The relationship appears to be dose-dependent: more tea, less depression, up to a point. This could be due to tea's biochemical effects, or to the self-care and ritual aspects of tea drinking, or most likely to both working together. The amino acids in tea beyond L-theanine also contribute to its effects. Tea contains glutamic acid, aspartic acid, arginine, and others. Together, these amino acids provide building blocks for neurotransmitters and support overall brain protein synthesis. While the amounts are small, they add to tea's overall nutritive and supportive effects on brain health. The polysaccharides in tea, complex carbohydrates that are extracted during brewing, have immune-modulating effects. Since immune function and brain function are increasingly understood to be connected, what helps the immune system helps the brain. These polysaccharides may indirectly support mental health by supporting overall system health. Tea also contains chlorophyll, especially green tea, which is minimally processed. Chlorophyll has been shown to have anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. It may also support detoxification, helping the body eliminate substances that could affect brain function. The green color of matcha or green tea is chlorophyll, the same compound that plants use to harness light energy, and now you're using it to support your brain. The concept of tea meditation is being studied by researchers interested in mindfulness. Tea meditation involves bringing full attention to every aspect of tea preparation and consumption. Studies show that people who practice tea meditation show similar brain changes to those who practice seated meditation: increased gray matter in the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, decreased activity in the default mode network, improved emotional regulation. Even the waste from tea, the spent leaves after brewing, have uses that connect to sustainability and mental peace. Used tea leaves can be composted, returning nutrients to the soil. They can be dried and used as natural deodorizers. Some people use them in the garden to enrich soil or deter pests. This circular relationship with tea, from plant to cup to earth to plant again, is satisfying in a deep way, reminding us that we're part of natural cycles, not separate from them. The future of tea research is exciting. Scientists are studying how tea compounds might be used therapeutically for anxiety disorders, depression, cognitive decline, and other conditions. There's research into combining tea compounds with other interventions, into optimal dosing and timing, into how individual genetics affect tea's benefits. We're only beginning to understand the full depth of tea's potential for supporting brain health. But we also don't need to wait for future research to benefit from tea. The evidence is already clear. Tea is safe, beneficial, accessible, and has been tested through thousands of years of human use. Unlike pharmaceutical interventions with their side effects and risks, tea offers a gentle, natural way to support mental well-being. It's something you can start today, this very moment, and continue for the rest of your life. And perhaps that's the most beautiful thing about tea, its accessibility. You don't need special equipment or training or knowledge to benefit. Hot water and leaves, that's all it takes to begin. Everything else, the knowledge of different teas, the skill in brewing, the refined appreciation, all of that can develop over time, giving you a practice that deepens year after year, always offering more to learn, more to appreciate, more pathways to peace. As we come to the end of this long journey through tea and the brain, perhaps you can feel how much we've explored. From molecules and neurons to culture and community, from ancient wisdom to modern science, from the personal to the universal, tea touches all of it. This simple plant, these simple leaves, contain such complexity, offer such gifts. But in the end, it's not about the facts or the science. It's about the direct experience of calm that tea brings. It's about the moment of pause in a busy day. It's about warm hands around a cup. It's about the gentle settling of a restless mind. It's about thousands of small moments of presence and peace, accumulated over a lifetime, shaping who we are and how we meet the world. So as you drift towards sleep now, imagine your own perfect cup of tea. See the color, smell the aroma, feel the warmth. Imagine that first sip, the way it tastes, the way it makes you feel. And know that tomorrow, or whenever you next make tea, you can return to this calm, this peace, this gentle reminder that in a complex world, simple things, hot water, leaves, attention, breath, can be enough. May your sleep be deep and restful. May your dreams be peaceful. May you wake refreshed, ready to greet the day with the same calm attention that tea teaches. And may you find, in tea or in whatever practice speaks to your heart, a reliable refuge, a consistent path back to peace, a gentle companion for all your days.